Hi guys, thanks for joining me for this where I'm going to analyze my UFO video from the other day. And well, I'm not going to analyze it, but Joyce is. She did some really good work on analyzing it. So I was going to play what I saw and then have Joyce explain what she saw. And I'll tell you what MUFON said was that these are aircraft lights. Now, I beg to differ with the man. I told him, this sighting lasted for like 3 to 5 minutes. Now, in 3 to 5 minutes, a plane that's going somewhere is going to be gone. First of all, this thing had no noise, and I had to go back in the house to get my phone. So it was actually a lot closer to me when I first saw it, but I could see the beams of light coming out of it. They just weren't normal. They look like car headlights flashing from low beam to high beam. And you can barely see it in the video, but right in the middle it shows up pretty good. And I'll play what Joyce found on it, and you guys can see what you think. See it flashing? Towards the middle it flashes better. There it is. You can see it flashing. I'm eating a piece of candy. I have it on the highest zoom possible. I think I lost it. Oh, there it is. Now it's when you can really see it flashing. You really can't see it very well. I'm sorry. There it is. It's flashing. You can see it. You can see it way better in person. MUFON claimed those were uh, warning lights, but when I first saw it, it was pretty incredible. I don't think they were warning lights. It looks like a car up in the sky with its flashing its high beams. But that was about all that appeared on camera. The video goes for 3 minutes, and it it does. There's no point in playing the rest of it. Let's go over and listen to what Joyce got out of it, which is pretty interesting.
Andrew, good morning. Sunday morning. Last night after watching your recordings of the plasma activity above your house, I had a real strong sense that there was a message in the pulsing. I didn't feel that it was personal to you, but I felt that there was a frequency message that was delivered. And of course, you put that up late. I think I saw it around 1 a.m. And I asked to be shown a translation of the information that the pulse was delivering if it was something that was supposed to be shared. So my sleep was heavy and hard. I woke up this morning around my normal time, 5-ish, 6-ish, and I couldn't get up. There was more. And I got some information that was in a form that I could put into thoughts and things, and thought, okay, I'm just going to go back to sleep because there's more translating to do. And I'm drinking coffee. Cheers. And I just woke up a little while ago. It's 9:40 now. I'm drinking my coffee. I just finally was able to get up around 9:30. And I have a vista of information for you. There are some things that I can tell you from questions that I asked, and then there are some frequency deliveries that I have been shown that I'm going to offer with my tuning forks. First of all, I need to tell you that when you asked why would the ship be blinking its lights at you when it was leaving, well, it wasn't talking to you. It wasn't talking to Andrew individually. It was delivering a frequency message. It was broadcasting a series of frequencies that were to benefit those that were in the plasma of that delivery. And it wasn't blinking its lights at you the way you might blink your lights at someone that you notice has neglected to turn their lights on after the sun goes down. That's not what it was doing. I could tell when I watched the video what you thought was blinking lights. It was plasma delivery. The ship essentially was speaking in the terms of numbers and frequencies. That was speech. That was language. That's why I cautioned you to get in touch with your gamma brainwaves, because the ship was operating at gamma at that time and would be very responsive to your gamma. That was like, how do I explain this? You know, it's like the ship was crop dusting frequencies is what it was doing. And you just happened to be there. So it wasn't for you personally, but it wasn't secret like what certain groups of people, like the people who formulated the Georgia Guidestones, were doing. They were also crop dusting frequencies, but they were doing it in secret. It was malicious. These entities have to be secret because people can't handle this yet. The fact of the matter is there are still people that run outside with excitement to film them, and you're not going to like this, but that's part of the problem. That's part of why they still have to be somewhat cloaked and secretive, because people react to them as though they are something special that they have to take some special excited note about. And they are sovereign. They are trying to help us move into sovereignty, and sovereign people don't run around like excited children and take pictures of other cars driving by. And that's what we do. And though that's better than trying to kill them, that's also something that is immature that we do, that they're waiting for us to move past. That's also the same thing happens with Sasquatch. I see the beings that I identify as Sasquatch because I don't get all excited and try to take a picture so I can put a picture on Facebook. They want us to know that we are all of the same root race, and you know, no star quality, right? Like, oh my God, I'm taking my picture with this celebrity. Oh my God, I saw the celebrity on the street when I was walking down the street and I took a picture of them. That's what we're doing to them, and they don't like it. And that whole thing is slowing the process down. I'm sorry to say, much, it's slowing the process down. People need to raise their elevation so they can all experience these frequencies and tones in a natural way, without being all giddy and excited, thinking that they just, saw some sports celebrity or something. So anyway, so I have that to tell you. If you continue to experience what you did as much as you did, it was because your gamma frequencies were of a rate that they could perceive, that you were mature enough to handle the information of their being there. Otherwise, they would have completely cloaked themselves to you. And I've seen space forms cloak around people who acted like excited little children, so that you got what you got is because your gamma and your and probably your beta waves were high enough. But anyway, as I said, when I was watching that video, I could feel, I could almost see the colors of the transmission that was in that plasma pulse. And they are going to let me try to distribute that now with my tuning forks, which I have all laid out in front of me. Because they want the information that's in the frequencies broadcast, because they want us to do better. They want us to deal with this, to come together, to if we let go of the kind of immaturity that we operate out of in this dimension, if we just let go of that immaturity and allow ourselves to evolve dimensionally, nobody has to teach anybody anything. It will just come naturally. The seeing comes naturally, the hearing comes naturally, the understanding comes naturally, and the manifesting comes naturally. It all comes naturally. But we have to let go of the devil of the 3D world, of the things that we cling to, that are honestly are limiting our ascendance. So let me go on, because you know how I am. I can talk. So this morning I burned some sage and I stayed as much as I could in my theta state so I could just be a receiver. It really took a lot out of me to tap into this. This was almost like I was doing a remote view. It really kicked my butt. But I was drawn to pull an oracle card to get a mood going first. And the card that I drew was known as the child I was meant to be. So I don't think that I need to read too much about that. I mean, I think that that's very clear. The child that we were, the child that we were all allowed to be born into was, of course, dependent on the circumstances around us, where we grew up, the decade we grew up, parents we grew up with, the city, the town, all of those things have an influence on why we grew up and how we grew up. But the child that we were supposed to be is a pure connection to all of these dimensional resources that these space beings or mer beings or Sasquatch beings or dragons or all of these things that we venerate as being extra dimensional, extraterrestrial, and superiorly intelligent, that are benefactors to us, those things already all exist in us. And they are in every single child that is born, and they are active in every single child that is born. And we either, as parents and teachers and whatnot, honor and protect and allow the child to nurture those things that sometimes seem scary to us, and allow them to teach us, as the next generation should always be teaching the previous generation of those things. We allow that to occur, which is a natural process, or we stifle it so that they fit into our preconceived basket of fear and predictability. So again, none of this is just for you. You happen to be where you were, and you had the experience at all because, as I said, your brain waves were at a frequency where they could perceive that you were able to handle the pulses. It's the same thing. No one is talking to me right now. There is no star being or somebody in a ship or anything that is talking to me right now. What I did is I went into the part of me that is all tone, and I tuned in like a radio dial to where that image of the pulses that you shared on the phone came from, and I was able to connect. And from that connection, I am pulling out this information. No one is talking to me. I am not special. I just am able, like remote viewers or channelers or any of those people, psychics, no one's talking to them either. They just know how to tune the radio dial to the right frequency. And they know how to interpret what comes through. So that's all that's happening here too. No one is talking to me. So this should come as no surprise. The child that I was meant to be, the child that we, is the card I drew, the child that we were meant to be, is what's going on right now, bringing us to that place and surrounding us with the frequencies that will help us elevate and purify enough so that we can transform back to that child. And the destruction of these frequency fences that have been up and still in some cases are up, interrupting the entire exchange of all that plasma and ether, is part of that too. The destruction of George Guidestones. I think there are 3 obelisks, at least 3 obelisks in the world that have been destroyed. Well, I shouldn't say destroyed, they're still standing, but they've gotten major cracks or things have fallen away. You know, the Eiffel Tower its degree of rusting has speeded up exponentially in the last few years, so that its integrity is completely questioned now. It's essentially rotting. Many things are being taken down. So that's all part of this. That's all part of accessing us back into the healing tones, like what a medbed is, that will allow us to reconnect with the part of ourselves where we can cleanse away the crap that we have accumulated, that's basically our own frequency fences that have interfered with the transmission, to to return to just being an open, an open source, an open vector that allows the frequencies in and has the purity of heart to interpret the frequencies and then apply them in life as we need to, with ethics and virtue, which is not what a lot of people do. You know, they have abused the access to this information and turned it into malevolence and control over others. That's what's all being destroyed. But that is where we are being taken back to. And an important part of that, I have to keep saying, a very important part of that is getting over the fascination with shiny objects, you know. Having a need to go tell people that you think you saw a mermaid, or you think you saw a dragon, or you think you saw Sasquatch, or you think you saw an ET. If you have that experience, then have it. But don't make it into like, oh my God, here's a picture of me with this sports person, right? Don't turn it into, that's turning it into ego, and they're not interested in that. That whole thing is going to slow everything down. You know, there's a difference between sharing information because you want to help other people, and sharing information in such a way that it draws attention to you. That last part is what we have to grow up past. Acquiring crystals because they're pretty, they're oh so pretty, they're oh so pretty, and this looks good hanging around my neck, or understanding that crystals are living, intelligent frequency beings that have information for us and can help us connect to higher realms. That kind of thing too. That's another thing. Anyway, so the child we were meant to be, essentially, is what the purpose of that plasma delivery was last night, that you had the great honor to be in direct line with. And because you were out there, you know, and I don't know if you were out there because you were out anyway, or if something about it pulled you outside to look up into the night sky. I don't know how you ended up out there, but you were there, and of course that was not a coincidence. And so you got it directly, directly through the plasma. Didn't have to go through the layers of insulation and wood and brick in your home. It got right to you, and your eyes got to see the pulsing, which takes it directly into your brain. So that was a great gift to you, my dear friend. But so let me, I've talked enough. Let me now move to the frequency delivery. And I think this is the part that really kicked my butt the most, is finding a way inside me to translate those pulses that you received into something that I could re-express and share. Because those pulses are coming at such a high frequency. I mean, I'm getting that they were like 15D. Those pulses were coming in at least 15D. You know, a lot of people might not have even noticed that there was a pulse. They just might have seen a light, right? So if I can transcribe them into tones and play them, then I can talk about the tones and what the tones are known to have effects on. So let me move to that. And now what's going to come is just me playing the tuning forks that my tuning into this information has led me to understand is the closest correlation to those things that I can share. But then also, you know, my guides, or whatever you want to call that stuff. You know, I hate names of things, but you know, my guides are pretty much tell me, yeah, that's right. No, that's not right. So let me move on to that. Okay, there's just going to be sound now, and my window's open. You're going to hear the cars in this occasion. Okay, that was the end of the frequency transmission. I will do another video and explain what all those tones were, what those frequencies were, and what we attribute to those frequencies. I'm going to pull one last card, oracle card, to leave us with an integrating image from that. And the card that I got was balance. No need to explain. There was a lot coming through, and as I told you yesterday, I was driving around with my top down yesterday, and because it's so hot in Florida, it's just the air conditioner is inadequate. It's better to just have the top down and let the wind blow. And yeah, there were so many ships in the sky. It was crazy. I mean, it felt like a science fiction movie. There were so many ships in the sky, and other beings too, other source beings that people call. Well, let's just say that some of the things that the constellational creatures are formulated after, they exist. And those things are in the sky. Dragons, serpents, fish, sort of Enkidu-y things, inky things. They have plasma forms, they have frequencies, and they exist. And the sky was full. Yesterday, full. They like it when it's cloudy because they can come in close and cloak in the clouds, and they did, and they did. So let me just close this with a little more sound. Thank you, Andrew. I love you. I hope that made sense.
Okay, so let me pause this for a second in case you think she said something super crazy about sky beings. Let me show you something on that. Now, this is a chat I have going with Joyce, and let me show you a photo here. This is a photo I got from a friend from Dunkirk, New York. Now, at first glance, you don't see anything too crazy, but if you look close enough, there's a dragon right there. You can even see its tongue sticking out. It looks like that one from that movie, Never Ending Story, a trio. And on this side, oh, there's there's an angel on this side, right here. You can clearly see the angel right here. So if you think she was saying some crazy stuff about sky beings, guess again. I put it together with a side by side. Guess again. So let's go back to the rest of the recording.
Okay, so this is an explanation of the frequencies that I was led to use to translate pulse and plasma information that I perceived from Andrew's experience with sky beings last night that led me to use certain tuning forks in certain orders, which are in the previous recording. This then now is me going back and explaining what all of those frequencies were, what those tuning forks were, and what those frequencies are known to do. So in the order that they were played, there was also a small rattle that I began with. And then at the very end, there was a tingsha bell, which is not a tuning fork, but it's a chime that's used oftentimes. I would use it at the end of my singing bowl sound bath type things. It's often used in communities for prayer and centering. The wooden rattle is just that. It's a little wooden rattle with seeds inside. That's it right there. And the tingsha bell happens to be tuned to the key of F, which is the frequency of your heartbeat. But that's just, I want to say those are the tinctures that I have, and that wasn't chosen for its frequency, but more for the piercing of the sound that it makes to kind of bring an end to the session. I don't have a full scale of tingsha bells. I have this tingsha bell, and I used it to kind of end things. It just happens to be in the key of F. The tuning forks were specific, and I felt led to the ones that I chose. So I played 7 sequences, and I will name those and then explain them. So the first tone that I played after the rattle was the 5/8 of the Fibonacci. The second was the combination of the C and the G, which is also known as the perfect fifth in Fibonacci. The third fork was the DNA amino acid tuning fork that is the frequency of cytosine. Next tuning fork was the RNA tuning fork, known as the amino acid uracil, which is also linked to the archangel Metatron. Next, I played in combination the solfeggio frequencies ut, re, mi, and 432 hertz. Next, I played the 2 solfeggio frequencies played together, the 285 hertz and the 963. And then lastly, I played again the solfeggios ma, fa, sol, and la together, and then closed with again the rattle and the tingsha. So to explain all of this, why the forks were chosen, and the choosing wasn't mine, and what they stand for. So what we started with was, so the Fibonacci sequence is the organic process of life, and the example that's often offered is a shell, like a nautilus shell, that spiraling shell. But it's also the way that flowers bloom. There's a cycle involved in it. And there are steps in the sequence, which can be broken down into Pythagorean and mathematical sequences, and they all represent elements of developing change and how an expansion at one level is required to set the stage for the next expansion to occur. So the first fork that I was
led to play was the fifth step in the Fibonacci, which is known as 5-8, and which is linked to your inner voice. Fibonacci is all about sacred ratios, and the Fibonacci is organized to begin at the C that sits at 256 hertz, which we consider middle C, and then it moves up in sequences. So the fifth step is the 5-8 as it's written. Inner voice leads your consciousness deep into the third ventricle of the brain, which is referred to as the cave of Brahma in Hinduism and yoga, where we make contact with our inner voice, which is where we can access wisdom and healing. It connects us to the healer within. It takes us into a place where help and wisdom is available to us to bring forth the understandings that we need to find the solutions to the problems that we have. In going there, it also allows us to clean away those unwanted thoughts, that monkey mind. So that was the 5-8. That was the first fork that you heard. Next, you heard the playing together of the C and the G in the Fibonacci sequence. Again, we're talking about sacred ratios, the Fibonacci, the way a shell grows, the way a flower blooms, the way you can really see it in a cactus, the way the cactus spirals. And the C, there's two C's in the Fibonacci. The Fibonacci starts and ends with a C. So this is the first C, 256. And then the third step in the Fibonacci, which is a G note, which is 384. So it's the first and the third. When they're played together, they are considered the golden ratio. So the first fork is 1-1. All Fibonacci's are written in sequences of development, of expansion. So the first step, 1-1, is the beginning, 256. So it's the beginning of everything, and it is the 1 to which the 9 returns at the end of the spiral. We pair that with the G, which is the third step, which is listed as 2-3, and it's the step of balance. The G by itself works with our pituitary gland, so it helps us balance our autonomic nervous system, meaning it helps us bring into harmony our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, the fight and flight versus the rest and relax, bring them into balance, which is a way of thinking of being in balance with heaven and earth, yin and yang, all of that. Through that balance, it increases our feeling of well-being because we're balancing our own scales, essentially. And together, that's considered an extremely healing harmony that is created together. Together, those tones create 128 hertz, which is kind of like the breath of the earth. So it's putting you completely in harmony with nature. Also together, they stimulate our cells to produce nitric oxide, which is a vital, nourishing, and healing compound, absolutely necessary to cellular healing, cellular nourishment, cellular development. It also, that combination stimulates our cranial sutures. Our cranial sutures are referred to, how we refer to our cranial joints. You know, we think of joints like an elbow or a knee or a wrist, but we have joints in our skull too. Our skull is not just one bone. It's just that those joints kind of fit together like the teeth of a zipper. So it's very easy to knock them out of whack. And then that can cause all kinds of pressure gradations and issues on your skull, on your brain, obviously. What this combination does, the C and the G together, the perfect fifth, it vibrates those sutures so they can bring themselves back into a correction. So it's deeply, deeply, deeply balancing. So next I played the DNA fork that stands for the amino acid cytosine, which vibrates at 537.8 hertz. And so cytosine is the amino acid that deals with endocrine balance. So we're talking about metabolism, we're talking about gland health, we're talking about those secretions, those glandular secretions that are absolutely vital to everything we do. And we're talking about serotonin and mood elevation and mood balancing. And interestingly enough, it is linked to the Archangel Raphael, who is the Archangel of healing. Next, I played the RNA fork. RNA and DNA work together. RNA is part of the protein synthesis process, obviously, and this particular fork is the RNA amino acid known as uracil. And interestingly enough, this tuning fork is associated with the Archangel Metatron. Metatron isn't so much an angel like you think of an angel flying around with wings, or you have some concept of your mind of what that looks like. Metatron is more of a field of potential. Metatron is 0 point. Metatron is the concept of the potentiality of 0 point, that from which anything can come, and that to which all returns to balance and reformulate in its next process. So an infinite field of neutrality. Metatron is very good for clearing energies and removing unwanted processes. Okay, so now the next tuning fork that you heard were some of the solfeggios. Together I played Ut, Re, Mi, and 432 hertz. I played those together. So the solfeggios are 9 tones that are the basis, most commonly known as the basis for the organization of the Gregorian chants, the holy sounds that created that pure tonal music that was so transformational in the Gregorian chants. But older than that, it's the tones of it's the tones of the yogic practices as well, and the mantras and the formulations of the mandalas. That's all solfeggio frequency and tone. So you think of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but back in this time, when these frequencies were pure tones, that first, what we call do, was referred to as ut. And ut is 396 hertz. It is linked to your root chakra. It vibrates at the color of red. It's for releasing guilt and fear. And it is the tone of liberation. And I played with that Re, which is 417 hertz. It's associated with your sacral chakra. It vibrates at the color of orange, and it's all about resolve. Helping release the positive energy that can bring about the change you need. Next, and these were played together, was Mi, like do, re, mi. That is 528 hertz. It's associated with your solar plexus. It vibrates at the color of yellow, and it is the color of love. The frequency of love. 528 is known as the frequency of miracles, transformation, the release and transformations in space and acceptance that can produce all sorts of miracles. And I was led to play that with 432 hertz, which is nature's healing frequency, which is the original true A. Some people have heard that, the Nazis changed the scale at which music was considered the universal scale to the 440 from the 432. So we went from music based on the frequencies of nature to a frequency format that was designed to be unsettling, unstabilizing, and ultimately produce fear. So 432 is also referred to as Verdi's A. It's harmonizing us back into the earth. It's getting us back to that theta brainwave, which is the brainwave of when you're just waking up and you're in kind of that twilight, when you are so receptive to all information around you. That's 432. It's basically connecting you to the heartbeat of the earth. So I played that in conjunction with Ut, Re, and Mi. So the first three chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus, I played with 432, bringing us in harmony with the healing properties of the earth. Next, I played together the solfeggios 285 and 963. Again, the solfeggios are the original pure tones based on nature and Pythagorean concepts of sequence, the tones of the earth, the pure tones of the Gregorian chants and such. So 285 hertz is the second step of the solfeggio. 174 is the first. It is the frequency of pain relief. But so we played the first step and the ninth step, the second step and the ninth step together. 285 is that frequency that will influence energy to rejuvenate. And then I played that with the ninth step, which are the holy Tesla numbers of 963, 963 hertz, which is known to stimulate our crown chakra, open up that higher learning. Now, they were played together because when you play two tones together, you essentially create a binaural. You create a harmony between those two forks. If you subtract one tone from the other, you come out with a number. That is the third frequency that they create together. And it just so happens that these two forks played together create a binaural of 678, which is, according to the Riffian schedule of healing frequencies, is very good for opening our lungs, and through that cellular rejuvenation, it has been proven to help with staph infections and bacterial infections, interestingly enough. So that was very much a combination of tones to open up that entire chest area, because we played that 432 prior along with the 528, which is the frequency of love. So then we played the combination of the 285 and the 963 together, which opened up that entire chest cavity, which allowed the frequency of our heart, which is a big superconductor of energy, to have more space, have clearer radio wave broadcast. And then lastly, I played together the rest of the solfeggios. I played, if you think of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, I played mi, fa, sol, and la together. So what we call mi is 528, associated with the solar plexus, vibrating in the range of the color yellow. The frequency of love, the frequency of transformation to awaken miracles. So right before that, we played the 285 and the 963 together, which together create an expansion in the lungs and the respiratory cavity. So first we opened up the cavity, and then we increased the ability of that heart chakra, the love in the solar plexus at the base there of the respiratory area to open. And with that, we played Fa, which is 639 and is related to the heart chakra and vibrates at the color green. And that's about connection and relationships, obviously. So we had opened up the entire chest cavity, and then we're making space for these frequencies to have a stronger effect. And then now these four were all played together: mi, fa, sol, and la. So I went over mi and fa. Now sol is 741 hertz. It is related to the throat chakra. It vibrates at the color blue. It's all about expression and the power of self-expression and bringing that which is in your heart into word, into life, into action. And lastly, la, which is 852 hertz. It's related to our third eye. It vibrates at the color purple, and it allows us to see through wisdom. So this is to explain the translation, shall we say, of the pulses that I perceived being generated in the video that Andrew Zabrun III shared last night about his encounter with those plasma beings in the night sky. And then I close that with, as I close all sound sessions or sound healings that I do, with my tingsha bells, which just happen to be in the key of F. The key of F is your heart chakra. So again, you're keeping that chest cavity open so you can broadcast more information more clearly. You're keeping that superconductor open. You're resonating with that miracle of the heart and communication. And this is what it sounds like. So I know that this was heavy. It was a lot of information. This is this is where I live. This is how I think. This is how I process information. This is the world I live in. This is the language and the frame through which I translate the world and what it means. So that was a lot all for you, Andrew. I hope it was helpful. Thank you.
So thanks for joining me for this analysis of my video on a possible UFO sighting. I present evidence, and it's up to you guys what you think about it. I don't control your thoughts. I don't know what you think about UFOs or anything like that. Obviously, you're curious if you're here listening to all this. But a few months ago, I ran into a Chinese doctor on Twitter who explains everything in form of energy and spirit and trying to figure out this planet. The only thing I can figure is everything is energy and everything is consciousness controlling energy. So the way I see it is Joyce is probably 100% correct. And Mufan tried to say it was just an airplane. So you can believe it's an airplane if you want. I'm not saying it's not, but it sure wasn't flying around like an airplane and it didn't make any noise. We've all seen airplanes in the sky. They all make noise, whether it's a helicopter or a fixed wing aircraft. They all make noise and they don't hang around that long. Like I said, the sighting just had lasted way farther than an aircraft flying through the area would. Next time you see a plane, think about it. Look at your watch and see how long you can actually see that plane. They're going pretty damn fast. Most planes are going over 100 miles an hour. This thing was not moving like a plane. It was flying back and forth and, like I said, making no noise. But I tried to get as best I could on the video, but cell phones suck. I don't know if a really good video camera could have captured this though. It was dark, so well, I did what I could on it, and it's up to you guys to think about UFOs and aliens. I like to call them higher beings and things like that. We all gotta formulate our own thinking on it and decide how we're gonna look at it, because the crap they're telling us certainly ain't true, and we're not the only things in the universe. That is for damn sure. So you'll find Joyce's links in the show notes, along with the links to the American made products that I promote, like My Pillow Guy, where you can use promo code ZBRUN at checkout to save up to 66% on Mike Lindell's high quality products, which I actually use. This is why I promote him, and I think he's a great patriot. I also have a Redbubble with 4 different designs: Natural Niagara Falls, 1783. Q, Reclaiming My Time, the plan to save the world. I want my life back, damn it. Gabriel's Great Awakening, and the summer version of Natural Niagara Falls by Nora Designs. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Have you ever seen a UFO? One person saw my other video and decided he wanted to come on and talk about his sightings and stuff like that. So I'm trying to coordinate and get that going. I would love to talk about this stuff more. If you have any strange experiences at all that you want to talk about, even if you don't have proof, we should talk about this stuff, because we were never allowed to before. I think it's pretty damn important because this stuff is happening. I'll see you on the next show. Look up when next time you're outside and stay happy. I love you all. Bye-bye.